Christmas. I'd like to call to order the City of Oconomowoc Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. Has appropriate meeting notification been made?
It has, Your Honor.
If you would please call roll.
Alderman Youngworth.
Here.
Alderman Rosick.
Here.
Alderman Altman Cloth is out, as is Alderman Ellis. Alderman Spiegelberg.
Here.
Alderman Mulder.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Here.
Alderman McConnell.
Here. Everybody here? Great. Well, welcome, everyone. We have one committee business this evening. It's a presentation discussion on the proposed Paps Farms development. This group, for the audience, actually came to the City Council about 2 weeks ago and created a concept plan and ideas and looked for feedback from the council. They've also had an opportunity to meet with council individually to try to get more feedback to see if there'd be something to move forward with. During that meeting, Alderman Shellpepper made a really good point when we look at the land, the proposed land for development, and what do we want to do with that land and what are the options. So with the help of Jason Gallo, thank you, Jason, if you're, oh, there you are. We put together a little slide presentation, very quick for you, but you can also use it as a reference. So that's what I handed out to you earlier, just talking about what the options are moving forward, where we are at this point in time, because if this tends to go in a direction, there's a consistent process that the city follows to make sure that we do it in the right manner. So per your request, I'm just going to go through a few slides with you that I thought would be helpful. First of all, I've kind of laid out, and again, this is in your handout, to give you a little bit more of a concept that's really the areas that we're talking about. We're talking about the different blocks of land, the acreage is there for you, for your consideration. One thing that I thought about that was really important is what is our tax revenue coming from those parcels? This is an estimate because there's been some rezoning in some different areas and some new CSMs. But in a nutshell, this parcel, which is about 106 acres, generates to the city's portion, is a whopping $255 per year because this is zoned agricultural, right? So when we look at this area, this is a great area to try to bring in some tax increment and value to the city to help keep all property tax payers at a lower tax rate. So I wanted to make sure you knew where we were starting from. How is this area zoned? When we took our comprehensive plan, when we worked on our comprehensive plan for the city, you can see the area in a light blue, that's a business park zoning. And then recently the change where Costco is as commercial and office use. But I also outlined in purple Summit, because that's an area when we're looking at this development, yes, we're focusing on what's good and best for the city. But what's been nice in this process is our collaboration with the trustees at the Village of Summit and trying to have more of a master plan where the end result is something everybody's happy with. So the city allowed uses in a business park, and again, this is in your printout as well, in the district. These are the allowed uses in a business park, and if you see the blue highlighted areas, those are not allowed in general commercial. Go to our next slide. These are the allowed uses in general commercial district, but not in a business park zoning. So this was something you guys asked for. If this is a project that doesn't go forward, what other things could happen on these parcels? And what's the influence that we would have as policymakers for the city as elected officials? Also remember, we did put together a PD, a planned development area, which also has some restrictions. Those restrictions are outlined and highlighted in Jason's wonderful way of highlighting, so thank you, Jason. And you can read those yourself, but these are the size of the units and the restrictions, so you have all that information in front of you. And Jason is also available to ask specific questions. Again, here they are for you. I'm not going to read them verbatim, but you have them. So when we look at what are some of the options for consideration for the council, we do nothing. Keep the land zoned as business park. That's the way they are right now. We can rezone at some point in time in the future based on best use. We have a tool called a PDA overlay that we can use along with developer agreements to control the future land usage for things that we may want. So those are the core directions that we can go as a council. We can do it as a large plan as proposed in the next presentation, or it can be done piecemeal in different areas as has been done in different parts of the city. Both have pros and cons associated with that. So I just wanted to give you that as a reference, and then we're going to move on to the presentation by the Pabst Farms Development Group in Cobalt. If you could please identify yourself at the podium.
Good evening, Scott Yauk with Cobalt Partners.
Brian Bell, Pabst Farms Development.
We're still tall like we were last time, so we're going to keep this up here. That hasn't changed yet, maybe a little bit, but just pull this up. All right, Mark, do we
Close that one.
close that one? There
And
we go.
click on yours. Yep.
That one.
Start your slideshow.
And start slide.
So thank you for listening to us, and thank you for coming back with some different ideas, and it looks like and sounds like you have some other folks within your team. So council, you have a lot of opportunities to ask questions and dig into more of the details as from their proposal. Okay.
We do, and we have with us a number of people. We've got Matt Rink and Eric Main from Rink Architecture. Matt's, of course, a product of Economock.
Can you speak up a little bit
sorry.
and more into
Yeah,
there?
this-
I just want to make sure we capture it.
So we have, is that better?
That's better.
Matt Rinka and Eric Main from Rink Architecture, and Matt's a product of Economock, so he's returning to his hometown to hopefully do some work here. We also have from Mid-America, Scott Satul and Mike Fitzgerald, so they're retail experts. Going to talk a little bit about that since last time we didn't have an opportunity to talk about retail. And then from our team, we have Dan Roskoff, our Chief Operating Officer, and a guy named Charles Yauk shares a last name with me, and Madeline Chack, who's a development manager with our company. So again, we appreciate the time you all spent. I know we had a chance to meet with everybody individually or in maybe a group of two in a couple instances. We're back tonight, 2 weeks from our prior presentation. A lot of feedback based on what we presented last time, so we appreciate the opportunity to be back before you again tonight. Just a reminder of where we are in the process, and I did this last time, so it won't take long here, but we are in the middle of this MOU process. So again, these aren't meetings at which, any actions to be taken, but we're hoping to get feedback and really sort of a go or no-go tonight. We've spent, a fair amount of time to get to this point. We don't want to waste anybody's time if there's not an appetite for this. I mean, we hope there is, and that's what we'd like to see the outcome to be, but we're still at a point where we're just getting direction. We would be coming back then through a process on rezoning, et cetera. And at that point, we do a lot more in terms of 3D modeling and architecture and things that you'll see that aren't sort of sketchy site plans, which is what you're really seeing before you tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian. He's going to talk a little bit more on context, and then we'll go through some of the development of the new plan.
Thank you, Scott.
If you can identify yourself, Brian?
Yeah, Brian Bell, Pabst Farms Developments. One of the feedbacks that we had from our meetings with council members was really to talk of the as-right zoning. And I think it was loosely discussed 2 weeks ago, but I think it was requested to kind of bring it forward and just understand, what that meant of business park and what can be done there. The mayor did a great job on his lead and with his presentation of kind of the PD overlay that's in place, but I'd like to kind of just talk further to that and just simply, speak to, what could be done out there. So the current PD overlay stretches just to this initial 25-acre site. So within that restriction, as the mayor, pointed out too, we acquiesced to a restriction of 350,000 square feet for industrial use within that. So as you kind of model that out, that restriction doesn't play forward to this 25-acre site, nor does it play to the 40-acre site to the north within Economock. So again, this is not a vision of what we'd like it to be. This is simply by right. And, working with Rinka from just a space planning standpoint, we feel that, a 500,000 square foot building would be best suited in this area, from a logistics standpoint and just economies of scale with talking with industrial users in the space. This is what they think it could work as. But again, this is simply just an exercise to show, what could work here. As I alluded to, through our 25 years of owning this land, I think there have been plenty of industrial users that have seen the sprawl of Western Western Milwaukee, and available space. This is kind of the next one on the stop, and there have been plenty of suitors that have come to us and said, when are you ready to sell out on this? I think, as you'll see later in our presentation, there's just a higher and better use that we'd like to ultimately see here. And that's what we've, tried to work with, and I think you'll see with the positive feedback that we got from council, our adjusted vision, I think, is something that will really play true to something that is of balance between, elected officials, developer, and the constituents of the community, so.
So then with that, just again, our plan is, we view it as a comprehensive plan, right, that reflects highest and best use, that's collaborative, that's controlled through a mechanism with the city in the form of development agreement and a planned district overlay. Again, we've got input from 100% of the council members, so we appreciate all the time you all took over the last week to meet with us to provide that input. We hope we've addressed a lot of those concerns and questions. We, just launching the plan for a minute, and you've seen all this before, so I'm not gonna go through this, but again, this overlying theme, and Matt Rink is gonna talk a little bit about some of the vision and the design and how this all works together, but again, the vision of this agrarian kind of concept is the theme, the branding that we'd like to see, and it kind of reflects its way through the overall development of the plan. The new plan we'll come back to. I just want to kind of put it up here to frame the initial conversation, but we'll go into detail on all the components of this plan in a little bit and kind of walk through what's changed from before and what's here now. In front of you, you have the original plan we submitted previously, as well as what's before you tonight, and also what was presented in terms of just kind of that by right plan. So just want to talk a little bit about uses and then turn it over to Mid-America. When we talked about uses, questions come up in the past, what kind of uses would you envision being here? What kind of uses might not be here? We would typically impose certain self-imposed really restrictions on use, Costco requests, things like that, which are part of existing agreements, and it's not uncommon in all these retail developments. And the purpose of this is really to, again, support high-quality retail-type uses and kind of a mixed-use type environment. It's also to preclude other uses that are typically viewed as nuisances. In the case of Costco in particular, things that are auto-centric, but we would typically not allow a lot of those uses, industrial uses, second-hand shops, things like that, that are not typically part of this type of development. And it's intended to protect the long-term value of the overall development. So those are what it's typically is prohibited. This is a list of the types of things. Again, I won't go through them all, but you can see for yourself what those types of uses would be. So those are the kind of things we would by right, whether or not, current zoning would allow that, we would preclude those types of uses as being part of the overall development. And then on the flip side of that is what are the typical permitted uses? And this is via PUD overlay. We would be, working through a rezoning process that would create a PUD overlay that would, we'd hope, include these types of uses. And again, they're kind of mixed-use type uses. I don't think there's anything we hadn't talked about that's up here before, but I just want to enumerate what those are and how that would occur through the PD overlay district. These particular uses, I want to start here tonight. We'll come back to the housing. I know we spent a long time last time on housing, and a lot of the commentary got was nobody really got to see what the retail plan is. So we'd like to start there if that's okay, and then we'll work our way to the housing after that. So the retail component here really is where we want to turn over to Mid-America to talk about kind of that context and what the state of the market is. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike Fitzgerald and Scott Satula.
Good evening, everybody. Mike Fitzgerald, Mid-America Real Estate. First, I'd like to start by giving a little bit of a brief background about Mid-America. The mayor, Bob Duffy, Mark Fry, Jason Gallo have all spent time with us over the last, I could say 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We've got a pretty good track record working with Oconomowoc, but ultimately this pulls back to a 40-year history that Mid-America provides throughout Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, and Minneapolis. Roughly a 50 million square foot portfolio that we curate and develop and manage and lease, both internally and then for third-party clients as well. Where this gets us to, and just to provide a little bit of context, here are notable projects that you see in Metro Milwaukee, and/or there's one in Madison that we've had part of both in the planning and execution of, ranging from 84 South in Greenfield to the shops at Fox River and Waukesha, Madison Yards, which is a Whole Foods development, the corners of Brookfield, which I think most are probably familiar with, Bayshore in Milwaukee or Glendale, and then Drexel Town Square in Oak Creek. Ultimately, this brings us, that's at the broad scope, but again, I want to bring it back closer to home, that this is a 20-year relationship that we've had with the Bell family. And I remember going back to both meetings with Brian's father 20-plus years ago when there was the hope and the plan of potential grocery store and securing a grocery store, and then ultimate development and lease-up of the marketplace, and going back to those initial conversations. And then that transition to, ultimately in 2006, 7, and 8, the potential plan for a town center here at Paps Farms. Ultimately, we know the great financial crisis hit us all, and unfortunately, the project took a step back. 2011 and 12, we tried again, and ultimately just based on some users, didn't necessarily have the right support to move forward, and I think we agree with that. So that really pulls us forward to today and where we stand with both retail development, not only in Oconomowoc, but greater Milwaukee in general. And I'll turn it over to Scott.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Satul, and I'm with Mid-America Real Estate. Appreciate everybody's time and the opportunity to get in front of you guys. I think, can you guys hear me okay? All right, thank you. I think as we go forward, or we look forward to new development, it's important that we take a step back and look at history, and we take a look at what has been historically done in southeastern Wisconsin, specifically as it relates to mixed-use development. As you take a look at the slide up on the screen, you see 4 notable developments that hopefully you guys are all at least anecdotally familiar with. The first being the corners of Brookfield, which is a 20-acre property that consists of over 400,000 square feet of retail and commercial development. You typically don't see development of that scale or that density in a suburban environment, but given some of the costs associated with the land that project sits on, the developers were required to get that much density in order to make the numbers pencil. So the density of that project is unmatched anywhere else in Waukesha County. It represents a true urban infill vertical development, and they currently have a second phase. I don't know if anybody has seen this, but the former La Quinta and the Jose's Mexican restaurant, Jose's Blue Sombrero, excuse me, has been raised, and there are plans to add additional retail. There's talk of a hotel, as well as additional housing to be part of that development. As you'll see from I don't know if you guys can read that, it's probably a little small, but the project currently has 244 residential units, which equates to about 0.61 residential units per 1,000 square feet of commercial space. Moving over to Whitestone Station, a project that is anchored by Costco, which we're all very familiar with. The site is positioned along I-41, very similar to the Harvest, which is in question this evening. And if you look at the numbers, about 50% of this entire project was actually dedicated just to retail. Right now, if you look at the breakdown of residential units in comparison to commercial space, that development has a ratio of 1.22 residential units per 1,000 square feet of commercial space. That project, Whitestone, and the next project, 84 South, was also coincidentally developed by Scott Yauk and his team. Moving into 84 South, another large-scale development. It was a large-scale assemblage, if people remember what used to be there. Multiple single-family homes, a school, a church, and a farm is what made up that 48 acres of 84 South. It was a very exciting development. There was a lot of pent-up demand, which I think is similar to what we're experiencing in Lake Country in Oconomowoc. The project was able to capture a few first-to-market tenants, including Fresh Time, Total Wine, Portillo's, and Cafe Zupas. The ratios here, the acreage breakdown is about 15% of that project was used for multifamily, 8% was for medical use, and the other 77% was used for general commercial use. The ratio that we've been using just to try to compare these to some of the other projects is this one was a 0.89 residential units per 1,000 square feet of commercial space. So you can kind of see as we're looking at this, we're starting to, really average around that kind of 1 unit, 1.1 unit per 1,000 square feet of commercial space. And then the last one I want to touch on is the Mayfair Collection in Wauwatosa. This represents a highly successful redevelopment or adaptive reuse of a former, I believe there's a food distribution facility that used to be located on this site. They recently completed their second phase of their residential components in this project, which brought their total to now 394 total units. That gives it kind of a 1.01 ratio to 1,000 square feet of commercial space. One thing to note is while they've completed their second phase of their their residential space, they still have the ability to add up to 1,000 units here. And they've got the dirt for it. They've publicly said that is their plan, and that's what they will move to. Moving on from history, I think we start to look at moving forward. And really when Mike and I are determining a project's size, scope, merchandising, it doesn't really happen by accident. We utilize, and I'm gonna summarize this so that I'm up here talking all night, but we use a tool called an anchor study. I don't know if you guys are familiar with an anchor study, but it's essentially a tracking of all national retailers that are active in the market, anywhere from probably on the low end 65 to 8,000 square feet, all the way up to 220,000 square feet. So what we're able to do is we can track the existing voids in the market. We can compare the market to that study. We can identify voids where that retailer is not already placed in a certain community or a certain development. And we can create a list of users to target while keeping the overall merchandising of the project first in mind. When the voids are aligned with specific brands who have confirmed interest in the project, we're able to make reasonable assumptions about the overall size and scale of a project. So Mike and I are very familiar, national retailers have a very systematic approach to growth. They typically have a required size, a required frontage, they have required delivery conditions, they have required co-tenancies, opening and ongoing co-tenancies. There's a lot of things that go into that, and going back to that anchor study and the analysis that we do, it really helps us hone in on the appropriate size of a project for a market based on voids. The last thing we ever want to do is underbuild a project. We certainly wouldn't want to overbuild a project. So I think that's something that's very important to keep in mind. Based on a lot of our discussions, the commercial square footage that's proposed for the harvest, it will be appropriately sized for the demands that we're currently experiencing. When we think about it, when Mike and I originally went through the analysis and we started having initial conversations with some of the national retailers and end users, I think we were pleasantly surprised at how much demand was actually out there. And when we started looking at compiling all this GLA, we're like, this really has the opportunity to be one of the larger open-air shopping centers in southeastern Wisconsin if we can get the right components lined up.
So really, where does that leave us today and trying to bring this forward to Oconomowoc? Scott's done a good job really painting a picture of what I'll call the last 10 years of how commercial and/or retail development has occurred throughout southeastern Wisconsin. And it pulls us out to really western Waukesha County and Oconomowoc, who's experiencing tremendous growth and realized upside based on lack of supply, user demand, and then again, both the realized residential growth of what's here today versus what's planned in the near future. Some of those projects that we're all familiar with tied to Oconomowoc, which really has become mixed use being the new norm, is Olympia Fields, PAPS 59, and Old Highlander. Some of these each have different components, and we don't have statistics for them, but they each have unique components that bring forward a mixed-use project. So that brings us back to the Harvest. And what does the Harvest bring? It's really just a continuation of, and you hear mixed use, but we're really trying to shift this to mixed life. Not mixed use, but mixed life project, and that being the new norm of projects these days. And there's a correlation that goes for all successful mixed use or mixed life projects. And I'm gonna run through a list of these right here, but I think as you think through these and you imagine what's a vibrant shopping community, these are the key components you see, and I think you all see and understand what those are. Retail thrives on foot traffic and rooftops. There's a sense of place that's created rather than a one-stop shopping destination. You've got a unique ecosystem of morning, afternoon, and evening traffic generation. There's higher densities, walkability, and sustainability. There's appeal to young professionals, those that are downsizing, and then those looking for convenience. And finally, as it comes back to, and Brian and Scott can talk through this a little further, is the project is right size and right scoped. And ultimately that the residential component that's planned here is not today, it's not tomorrow, it's over probably give or take a 5 to 7 year horizon. So what we're looking at today is not what's built tomorrow, but that's gonna take time to get to. But what is important is the retailers do wanna see that connectivity and that growth being planned as part of it. So ultimately, the residential density of the Harvest at Pabst Farms not only helps our retail, but it helps Greater Oconomowoc retail. To those retailers on Summit Avenue, to those in the downtown CBD, it creates a better critical mass for cross-shopping across the board. What I'm gonna move on to next is going to dovetail in what Scott has shown here of really the look back over the last 10 years. And where I'm gonna propose now as we move towards what retailing and mixed use or mixed life development looks like in 2025 and moving forward. There are three major projects, I'll say in southeastern Wisconsin, but this does include Madison, that are in planning or approval stages right now. One has actually broken ground. The first tails after, similar to the Harvest, is a Costco-anchored project, or shadow-anchored, in Oak Creek called The Prairie. And this is a Wangard Seatman development on Drexel Avenue, just west of I-94 near IKEA. And here you've got 115 acres, where 90 acres of it are going to multifamily, duplex, or single family, and only 25 to the commercial or retail, giving you to basically a 5 per 1,000 ratio. The second is Jamestown Quarry in Madison, in the suburb of Fitchburg, which is a high growth area of Madison. Again, we see more of an equal balance, 17 acres to multifamily and 15 acres to commercial, which gives a 6-to-1 ratio. And finally, the Shops at Riverview, which is down in Pleasant Prairie outside of Kenosha, right on Highway 50, where you see 65 acres going to multifamily or senior housing and only 30 to commercial, to roughly a 3.68, I'm getting exact there, but per 1,000 ratio. The reason that we feel these ratios are important, it's not to bore you with numbers, I realize that can get a little long, it's to tie back to two main statistics. Ultimately, if you look at what was done over the last 10 years, you've got 0.9 residential units per 1,000 square feet built. Today, what's planned is just under 5 units per 1,000. So a significant, almost 5x the amount of residential components that are being built as part of a mixed life project. Where that ties to us and what's planned right now, we're only sitting about 1.4 per 1,000. So we're significantly under other projects that are being planned and in process today, based on what we've planned for what we feel is right-sized for both retail and residential.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And council, after they get through their presentation, if you want to bring anyone up, just please let me know. And if you have any questions for anyone that's presenting this evening. Scott?
Yeah, we'll make everyone available. Now we're going to turn over to Matt Rinka from Rinka Architecture, or just Rinka Plus now, I think it is. But he's going to kind of walk through some of the plans. So again, we're going to pick up with the retail, since that's kind of what we finished with Mid-America.
Welcome back, Matt.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Matt Rinka from Rinka. Really happy to be here. Always looking forward to doing work in my hometown. And, Rinka itself is really built on creating not just architecture, but quality experiences for people around the country. And this is obviously very important to me to make sure that a project like this in my own hometown is something that not only can we be proud of, but is adding to the success of the community. So I'm going to run through these diagrams fairly quickly, but I really want to get to why the design we think is really the highest and best use for this community. So, whoop. Back here. So, what you're seeing shaded in the red is our mixed-use commercial retail zoned areas, and you can see Costco is in there. We've incorporated restaurant pads for larger as well as smaller outlot developments, which obviously very typical along the freeway in this area. I'm going to come back to this slide, but I want to show that, I want to explain how the green spaces themselves really knit together the entire development, but obviously showing that a significant portion of these parcels are reserved for the green spaces. And in particular, we'll highlight the central, we'll call it the commons for now, but the central component of this green space in the master plan. Getting into the residential components, it's really important for developments like this to not only stand well on their own, but knit together to the other neighborhoods around them. And so this is, we're proposing a single-family zone along the north portion of the development up against other single-family homes that we feel is a great step down towards, blending into what's already existing. You can see some examples of the quality of architecture, quality of the homes. And then, as you step towards the denser components of the development in that mixed-use area, we're looking at potential for a condominium-style townhome development, 2 stories, again, high-quality architecture, but really, focused on pedestrian-friendly, community sort of friendly development as we get into the more denser components of the mixed-use area. If you look at the multifamily zone, I'm sorry, I'm not quite as tall as those guys. If you look at the multifamily zone, we've got a mix of different type of units shown. Everything from a 2-story garden style to townhomes to denser 3-story with below-grade parking options. This really does cater to the mix of incomes and not just affordability, but in terms of the types of individuals that would want to live here. And I think the multifamily zone, this is just one way of laying it out, but there are other ways to lay this out. But the whole idea behind this is that the connectivity around the multifamily zones is based on connecting people to those green spaces. And how do we do that, right? Well, it's through a series of pedestrian networks. This is something, we actually produced this as one of the very first documents because, again, the common areas, the networks, and the infrastructure that ties all the vertical construction together it really is the skeleton, it's the backbone of the development. It's very important that it all works together. And so you can see here, not only are we connecting to the Lake Country Trail, but the idea is to make sure that the connectivity between all of the uses is strong. Not only will it help the development overall, it will help the retail as well as the residential components stitch well together. I think for us, understanding the connectivity and understanding the experiences that people want, this is what people are looking for nowadays. It's not just where do I come home and lay my head on a pillow, but what are the experiences that are going to draw people to this community and to this development? So a people want that walkability. They want the ability to, get to a restaurant without getting into a car. That's very important in a sustainable development like this. They also want to make sure that they've got, outdoor spaces that are easily accessible, not just for a walk with their dog or their kids, but something that feels like it's intertwined into the neighborhood, and that's something that's really important for us as master planners. And so, obviously, we'd love to dive into all the details, but that really is sort of overall the approach that we took as the design team to make sure that we feel like this is the highest and best use for this community and for this land. So, Scott?
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Nope.
We're going to have to get a block for you, so. it
Yeah,
can
we
go
need to do
behind it.
something. A hole in the floor, I think. And we'll come back in a second. One other thing I just want to point out in addition to the trails, just maybe to point out what changed from last time. And again, for your reference, since we can't flip back and forth easily on the slides, that let me go back to I'll go back to this area. I think, so what's dramatically different from before, there were 250 plus or minus what we called single-family attached, which maybe wasn't the best name for that, but the units all along the north. That's been totally replaced now with single-family lots. That yellow area plus some of that green band represents about 30 acres. The housing portion that you see up there is about 72 acres, 77 acres. So almost half of that between what you see there is single-family, and then this little portion that would be condominiums. Townhouse-style condominiums is almost another 4 to 5 acres. So it's about 35 acres we're committed now to, at least to ownership. I mean, I know the condo is classified technically as multifamily, but from an ownership perspective. And then the balance of the units, as Matt pointed out, here are primarily two-story. There's only 2 3-story buildings. Everything else there's 2-story, either garden style or townhome style. So we think we made some significant changes based on a lot of the input that was provided last time. I'll just point out maybe 2 other things, and then we can wrap up so we can have a dialogue or answer questions. There was a request to add an access easement to the well, to that the area depicted there, which is sort of short circuits the way that's accessed today and frees up, I think, some land that's dedicated to a road and to access. It's more efficient, and it made sense, so we could easily accomplish that. The other thing I'd point out back in the trails, a significant amount of trails in the woods, not the forest, but the woods just to the west of the development or east of PAPS 59 was added. If I can just briefly talk about, and then we'll come back to the housing ratio. One of the things we did, and there were requests to do this, hopefully you can see this, I can't see it that well from here, but what we with the help of Jason and some of the reports that are available, if we looked over the past 11 years, the average single-family lot or home development averaged 119 units per year. If we assume that's valid going forward, and we're not the policymakers, we're not saying that's the right assumption, but if that were the assumption, and then the units that we have, we're adding about in Oconomowoc on that that's currently shown about 62 units of owner occupied. Again, 12 of those are condos, to be clear. About 50 are lots. If we add that, and then the multifamily component's about 48 per year, you'll see in the yellow band at the top that that single family stays above 60%, I guess is the best way of putting it. So that ratio isn't exceeded. Again, that's based on the assumption of the prior 11 years kind of continuing on average in the future. And then just to kind of solve for the bare minimum, we said, well, what does it take just to keep it in check at about 2/3 of what you have seen historically, or 70 lots per year would keep it right at about 60%. Again, we're not suggesting that therefore there's not a change needed, but we're kind of just pointing out what those dynamics look like. Because I know last time we took all the units and just applied them in the first year. So hopefully that's helpful.
Matt, you had a question?
Yeah, on that, looking at the multifamily going in 48 units a year. I mean, our recent experience has been that those go in rapidly, you know, and, you know, a building a month was opening, you know, showing them going out, I guess, 7 years, is that, it doesn't feel very efficient from a construction
Yeah,
standpoint.
and, no, and that's fair, and again, don't want to misrepresent anything, that would be the average, we simply based on an average, I mean, a project would probably be built, you know, in the range of 120 to 180 units, I mean, the three-story building are 110 units, so that would be one at a time. We'd build them based on absorption, so again, that's why I'm saying this isn't, I can't tell you this exactly how it'll play out, but over time, on average, I mean, by the end of 7 years, I think that's where you'd get at least on our development, but we just evenly spaced it out. You'd probably have a development of 100, like I said, 120, and then maybe a year off, and the next building would go up.
Sure.
Alderman Rozak?
Where are the duplexes in this plan? Because you got the duplexes on there.
Yeah, we don't have any duplexes in our plan. We're just showing what, that's citywide, and then we
I see.
took the same growth rate that it.
So
had
this is
been,
just an 11-year average of what we've been.
Correct,
Okay.
right. With the addition of what we would do and then projecting that trajectory forward.
And I mentioned this to you guys when we met in the meeting. I think an 11-year trend is different than the last 2 or 3 year trend, which is a lot more apartments being built in our area. So the numbers look good with what you're presenting, but I think if you swapped an 11-year trend for a 5-year trend, it would look significantly different. But I appreciate that. What are the actual numbers going to be? So just give me owner-occupied, multifamily, duplex. Because
Yeah.
last time we had a slide that showed us the exact numbers. What's the exact numbers?
Well, duplex are 0, so I can give you
Okay,
that one really
well, that
easily.
helps. That's easy.
The condos right now would be 24, but 12 in Oconomowoc.
Okay.
So again, that's counting technically under multifamily. And then on single family right now, we had 68, but that's assuming a quarter acre. You know, we'd be open to if that's, you know, from your perspective, a policy to make those slightly smaller. It could help a little bit on affordability to maybe get 5 lots per acre. So if we do that, we'd get maybe closer to, you know, 80 in Oconomowoc, I would say.
80 in Economwalk?
I think so. Yeah,
That's 80 on one side and 80 on the other?
No, I think there's more in Oconomowoc. There's 68
Oh.
in Oconomowoc. 42, 26. If we break those, yeah, that's probably, 80's probably too high. It's probably
In the 60s?
in the 60s, yeah. I'd say in
Okay.
the 60s. It depends a little on the configuration, right? 'cause
Sure.
we've got,
And then the rest would be in Summit out of the roughly 80 total. And then how much multifamily total?
between both communities?
Yes.
Around maybe 620, something in the low 600 range, 620 between both. 380 is Oconomowoc.
380 in
Total,
Oconomowoc.
that's total units. That's total units. So you have to subtract those out. Let's try, why don't we try this again? So
Yeah,
we've got
gonna do-
somewhere 42 to 60, single family. 12 condos, owner occupied, but counting as multifamily. And is that the balance? 216 garden style and 110 in the 3-story building.
Gotcha.
So 380 total units, including, you know, 60 to
I got
80
it.
owner
I
occupied.
gotcha.
And that's just the Oconomowoc side, so essentially
Correct.
double that number for the total.
Yeah, it's not quite, but it's really close.
Yeah.
And just to be clear for people, when we say multifamily, we are talking apartment units, right? Rented apartment units?
Yeah, with the exception of the condos, just the way your condos show up, there's only 12 of them, but
Okay.
condos show up as
They're buried in
multifamily
there
the
too.
calculation, right?
Okay.
So owner-occupied, single-family, owner-occupied condos, and the rest would be rentals at some level.
Correct.
Rusty, do you have a question?
No, Karen?
Can you clarify the rentals number again for me? Because I thought when we had talked yesterday, it looked like it was still approaching that 700 mark.
We have, we can look at this breaks out the communities, and I don't know how readily you can see that there. But, right, this could be the best breakdown, and we'll send this to everybody after if you like, but this shows that breakdown. So, again, when single-family detached, that was the term we used before, but that's really, well, that's what they still are, single-family lots. That 42 is based on quarter acre, so again, that could get higher. We think it probably should. 12 condos, and then 216 garden style, 110 in the 3-story building.
So it looks like it's 646 for multifamily, true multifamily rental, according to this number.
Yeah, if you're backing out the 24 and the 68, right?
I'm sorry, Karen, you're not finished?
Nope, thank you. Couple other questions. Mr. Rinka said that this is what people want. How do you determine that this is what people want?
Yeah, and again, if anyone, I don't know, Matt, if you want to talk to that, I'm glad to have you do that. Some of it is what the retail, you talk about housing or?
Yeah,
or-
the whole,
Just the whole
Yeah.
thing.
the whole
Okay,
development,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so we've, you know, aside from the market studies that are done, we've been involved in fact, most of the developments that, that Mid-America just presented. So, but aside from the market studies, the direction that people are going is, you know, less sort of large lot, hate to say it, McMansion type homes, and more walkable communities. And so we call them 6-minute cities. And that's a trend that's really been happening for really the last 15 to 20 years. But it really it gained ground during the COVID, really in the last 5 to 6 years. And again, it's just the way, you know, people don't necessarily want to go home and shut their door and not talk to anyone anymore. A lot of the younger generation that are buying homes, having families, want to be in a community. They want to be in a place where they can go out the door, go to a farmer's market, go to, go take their walk and be able to see people. And, you know, we used to call this, a neighborhood, right? And the planning of American homes really got away from that, and I would say the 70s and 80s, and now it's coming back. And we call it had several different names. One was called New Urbanism or New Urbanist Development, but it really is a walkable neighborhood, and that's what people are looking for. They want to be able to not only walk through the neighborhood on a sidewalk or through trails, but to get to something, right? They want to get to restaurants. They want to get to their hair salon. They want to be able to do those sort of daily activities without having to get in a car necessarily. And so a lot of these developments, as Scott and Mike were explaining, the national retailers understand that in order for them to be successful, they need to be part of that neighborhood experience. And so for us, not only are we designing the retailers, the retail experience, but we have to think about, what are the rooftops that will help supply customers for those retailers, and that's really what they're looking for. And what the customers are looking for is that sense of place, that sense of community, and a sense of neighborhood. And that's really important for us to bring as a high quality development like this.
Okay, thank you. I just have one quick question for Mid-America, and it's kind of bouncing off something that you said. How does the fact that, we're close to 94, this is going to be more of a regional draw, it's not just going to be a local draw. How does that play into like the anchor study or some of the analysis that's done on this? I'm assuming that, retailers would think that's a great benefit. Can you speak to that?
There's absolutely a benefit and a connection that goes to that. We subscribe and have retail data points, ultimately, that we try to mirror what the national retailers, now what they develop and what they have, they don't share with the outside world of how they do sales projections, cannibalization reports, drive times, ratios. But we do have something that it's a tool called Placer AI. I don't know if anyone is familiar with it. It's based off of cell phone data and tracks customer traffic of where someone's willing to drive through. So I guess this gets into more fun privacy issues, but when your phone is tracked, ultimately there are companies that track where your cell phones are going, and so it can tell how long you've been at a store or in a certain region. And companies can track and buy that information. So ultimately, what we do is try to mirror and show drive times for where customers are willing to drive to for a certain area, and then overlay that with the distances of where other retailers have their store networks. So then you kind of get an idea that if customers are willing to drive longer to another store, there's a probability that there is a better chance that a store could land within a certain region versus having to drive to a different community far away.
You done?
Maybe more than you wanted to know
Yeah,
or scares everybody,
no.
but it's the reality.
No, it's very interesting.
Matt, did you get your question answered?
I think so.
Okay, just want to make sure I didn't cut you off. Okay. Rusty, yeah,
I know we got 10 minutes or something, but want to make sure.
we have as much time as this council wants to
Okay,
give you. So
great,
Rusty,
Cool. I've actually had a question for Mr. Gallo, if we could. When does a single-family home, or when does any type of home count towards our rate? So is it when we approve it? Is it when it is finally built, or when the lot's approved?
As the city planner, I've been tracking the housing ratios for 15 years now. We have the charts, it's listed on our website. I have the development spreadsheet with me. Your question is, when do you put that on there? There's a lot of stuff on there that's not built. It's, as soon as it's approved, I put it on the chart. So the last two things on there for the year 2025 would be Prairie Creek Ridge, addition number 11, that's 88 single-family homes. That's already on the chart. That hasn't broken ground yet. They're filling the site and bringing it up. And then the Weston Acres out near Weston Meadows, that's another 80-some units that hasn't broken ground. So things are on there. The Elevate is another multifamily project of 116 units that's on there that hasn't started yet. So the percentages that are on the chart aren't really representative of what's out in the real world in the city, but it's what this council has approved.
So my next question would be is I think the projection was two-thirds pace year after year. Do we have the land in Oconomowoc right now to keep two-thirds single-family home development, given that all those are already on our chart for the next 10 years?
We have a lot of land left in Oconomowoc. The problem is getting utilities out there is very expensive, and that has turned some development away because when it costs $5 million to develop a site, the numbers don't work. So we do have the land. I don't know, how much more single family we're going to get.
I think it's just a conversation for the council. I'm not saying no to this, right? But I don't think we can use the projections that you provided, given it was two-thirds year over year, right? So if we are gonna go forward to this, we have to have a really thoughtful conversation about what that ratio looks like and how we structure it, because I don't think we can go off of just those numbers. Sorry, one more question for you guys real quick. Are there any twin homes in our single-family home map here?
There are not, we're open to that and think, there seems to be a market for it. It would increase the numbers if there was a desire to do that. And just back to the point on that graph, we're not trying to represent that's what it ought to be. Just want to be clear. We're just saying if that continued. I think in the end, for this to go forward, there'd have to be some accommodation under that ratio if that's.
Yeah, I just want to be thinking of like, hey, if this is going to go forward, we have to plan how we structure that, right? We can't just say, hey, it's going to stick with the same ratio and
Understood.
call it good. So
Yeah, we were just kind of showing what it was and maybe what it would take to break even in theory.
totally get it.
I think the other intention with that is, I think the ratio is very close, given some assumptions, and we try to go with a conservative number, which might not be conservative enough, but I think the intention really is to say, hey, we're not trying to completely blow this open. It's to really show, if you look at it over a 7 to 10 year plan, we actually are fairly close to that and not kind of the, I would say, not misrepresented, but we didn't do a good job of explaining it 2 weeks ago of just kind of where we sit and how it fits into the projections of the 10-year plan.
Fair enough.
Matt?
Yeah, thank you, guys. I mean, you don't have to stand up. I don't really have questions for you, but if you want to sit down, you can. You've been standing for a long time. I have a couple general comments and then throw some stuff out to council. I'm really happy that the mayor, myself, and other aldermen pushed back on the original proposal. The original proposal had 720 rental units as the only residential piece of the entire project. That was in no way fantastic. That was in no way positive for the community. Recently, over the last 5 years, We've approved 1,074 apartments in the small little area from basically Walgreens over to Pabst Farms. It's a lot of apartments in that area for a really small period of time. This revised plan, I give you guys kudos for being responsive to our concerns and our questions. The numbers of apartments, while still providing more apartments than I would like in the area, I think is a better plan, significantly better than what we saw before. The below-ground parking is a huge addition. Before, your plan showed above-ground parking. I know you heard some comments negative to that. I also appreciate that after we met yesterday, you guys are converting what were the townhouses and rentals to condos. The owner-occupied is a huge part of this to me. And I'm passionate about it because I live right there. Creating that residential strip along the top of this project is something that myself and the mayor specifically asked for in the last meeting. I think that's positive for the community. It helps us with our ratio. I'm not opposed to moving the ratio for the right project, but this certainly helps. There's still a lot of work to do here. The current proposal is significantly better. But as you've always said, Scott, the devil's in the details, right? And I think it's our job to make sure we know what those details are and ask those tough questions. And without the tough questions 2 weeks ago, we would have had a very different proposal in front of us. So a few other things I'd like to note. The park addition is a huge addition in this proposal, which is putting in the walking paths and using, yeah, there you go. That part is
Have
huge.
control, be careful.
Yeah, oh, you got it? Okay, yeah. Adding, I've always known that forested area was there, but it's a really cool piece of that area. I always thought something was gonna happen, it was gonna get developed, so kudos to you guys for bringing that to green space and putting in some walking paths in there. Before no trespassing signs went up there, I used to hike back there with my kids all the time. It's actually really cool. So I'm excited for that part of the proposal. I think we also have to talk about something that the mayor presented early on, which is how this area is currently zoned. If we don't move forward with at least seeing what options are out there, what could end up with is 500,000 square foot warehouses in this area. And I don't think that's what the folks want either. So we have to do a little bit of a weighing test here on what's best for the community. And I think right now what we're looking at is certainly better. I want to be clear on the numbers. So it looks like a total of 620 rentals for both sides, for Summit and the city. And our ratio doesn't matter what's in Summit. Our ratio is our ratio without regard to what goes into Summit. 12 condos, and then 62 housing units approximately, with the potential, or single family, with the potential if you go to like 4.5 units per acre or 5, you could squeeze more homes in there potentially. I think that's a huge positive, a lot better than 2 weeks ago. I certainly think the plan we're looking at is much better. I have a listening session, so Eric and I have a listening session on Thursday, and I hope to get a lot of folks from my community and the people that live there. It's at the East Campus, the high school, starting at 6 o'clock on Thursday. I'll have some of these slides I'm going to drop into my slideshow so we can try to hear what the folks want, but I appreciate you guys being responsive to our requests. I do have one other question for Chief Pfister and Chief Bowen. It's mostly related to the impact on fire and police with this many more apartments coming in the area. If you guys have anything on that, I'd be appreciative of that. Yeah, I asked for you first, Jim.
So we looked at this very closely. I think the development plan of, the 5 to 7 years works well with us. We're looking at possibly another officer next year. That would be, a good addition. But I think we would wait and see what development happens out there and the impacts of it before we would add any additional. So, yeah.
So you're saying you're okay right now?
Yeah.
Chief Bowen?
From our perspective, I kind of looked at some of the recent apartment complexes and the call ratio of number of calls per unit against some residential neighborhoods in the community. And actually, they tie together fairly well. It's not that the multifamily is outpacing the single family. In some aspects, single family is higher call volume than multifamily. From us, looking at development, it comes down to how it's built, the setbacks, the safety standards that are put in. Somebody said the devil is in the details. That's where we're gonna working on this as well.
And
Thank
for
you,
those
Chief.
of you that are interested, we did color coordinate again tonight.
I had to go buy a shirt because I don't own
Where's
a
your
green.
Grinch tie? Where's your Grinch tie?
Good, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. So, Council, what I'd like to be able to do is we'll continue if you have any more questions or comments or want to bring anyone else up. Then we kind of need to summarize, and I'd like to have the developers just come up and ask us what they want from the council, because my understanding, in summary, is they're at a decision point. Do they go to this next phase, yes or no? And if they have any direct questions for the council on that.
We still get a
Alderman Spiegelberg?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I want to say it's really unfortunate that my words were taken out of context on December 2nd for some excitement for the fact that, you know, this could be zoned something different. This could be something different in here. And also the fact that, you know, there's a potential for the senior center there. But I do have some comments on this. So although this project is still in its infancy stages, it is evident that the developer is listening to the council and the citizens, and we very much appreciate that. I know that the words more development can turn some folks off, but moving forward with this is good for the community in many ways. So it has been known that this last chunk of Pabst Farms would be developed at some point. It was not always clear if it would be developed piecemeal and what that would look like. This project gives us a chance as a city to master plan the entire area and have input and control over it. This plan, after rezoning, as has been talked about tonight, would prevent any permitted industrial or light manufacturing uses in that area that butts up against a residential area. And finally, I think it's important to note that this fulfills a need that many have expressed in our community: small, affordable, single-family homes, and also rentals at a value for those who don't want homeownership anymore or those who want to live and work in our city.
Alderman Mulder.
Yeah, Rusty, thanks for asking that question before. I think it's really important. So if we're adding kind of a net of 300 rental units, you know, in this area, the way Jason calculates it, as soon as we would approve that, those numbers would hit his calculation. So while the ratio over time, and since he's saying that there are really no new active single-family home projects on the horizon except for this one, if we're going to add 300, sorry for being a stats wonk here, but if we're going to add 300 apartment units to offset that and keep the ratio where it is today, we'd have to have 500 new single-family homes in addition to what's here added to our inventory. And at this point, we don't have any plans for additional single-family home developments. That's just a fact. That doesn't really impact my opinion. But I think when we think about we're changing the ratio, we're not changing it for a couple years or 7 years. We're probably really saying 58% single-family home is now our new normal, because the chance of catching those 500 up is unlikely in the next few years. If I'm misspeaking, Jason, but that seems, there isn't a lot of opportunity for single-family home that isn't already in the ratio. So, but on the other hand, like I said last time, I think this is an appropriate development for this space. I think the access to the freeway right there doesn't add to a lot of congestion on a day-to-day basis in that area. Or the number of homes that are going in there, that could be a lot of congestion, but I think that underutilized intersection, you know, will finally be put to good use. I do agree with most of what Matt and Karen said. I think the changes are positive. I think the walkability's great, you know, but we're fundamentally changing our ratios, not just making an exception for one, you know, for one project here. We are kind of agreeing that 58% is probably a better number for us.
Alderman Rozak.
Yeah, one thing about the ratio, we voted to change the ratio 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and we went from single-family to multifamily designation, which included condominium buildings. I was against that vote because I felt it should have been owner-occupied versus renter-occupied. And it's hard to gauge that, because I could buy a home and then rent it, and it's technically renter-occupied, even though it's single-family. And that's created problems in the ratio, because I don't think most people, well, you know, for instance, Fowler Lake Village looks like multifamily. It is kind of multifamily, but you also have condos in there that are worth 1.3 million. So I've always thought that was kind of a strange way to do the ratio, that we should be focused more on owner-occupied. So if some large buildings downtown were torn down and they wanted to put condos downtown to create influx of, you know, foot traffic to businesses down here, I think that would make sense, even though it's technically multifamily. But if they were condos, I think that'd be something that'd be very attractive. So looking at the ratio again may not be a bad idea in how we're classifying some of these units, whether it's owner occupied versus renter. I think that's actually the true proper classification. That's the way it was when we changed it back in 15, 16, Mark, and then we went to this multifamily versus single family, which has skewed it because there's condo buildings.
To be clear, we changed the ratios, kept it at with the same philosophy of owner occupied and rental, because I agree with you.
Right. Right.
But then at the last meeting, council made a decision to go back to the other.
To the multifamily.
So I think, I tried to look at it, and I agree with your point. When you look at owner versus renter, you have different behaviors. And so to me, that's more valuable in keeping a community like Oconomowoc really rich and vibrant. So I agree with those comments, Alderman Rozak. But whether you go back, what we have is what we have. What we have proposed is what we have proposed. But categorically, everyone said, you know, if something good comes along, and here we're looking at 109 acres in the city property, a large property in our large master plan, do we look at this and do we actively pursue it? Now, if I'm a developer, I'm going to sit back and say, well, geez, is that ratio going to hinder me from this project at all? Yes or no? Well, if it's going to hinder me from the project that I think is best use, then I want to know right away, because then maybe I'm not the right developer for you. And I may be misspeaking for the two of you, but I think this council needs to give these guys some indication, not a commitment. We're not there yet. There's so many details here and a lot to do. But I have to think to these guys, do you want them to go forward with where they are at this point in time? So in a matter of 2 weeks, you've seen a significant difference. The first set I was very upset with, I think, as many, because there's no way I would ever let it come back as all rental. Just no way. So you've done a great job, and you've listened to the council, you've met with the council. There's also part of the process where we have to hear from our constituents. Some of the areas are doing that, but we're going to have public hearings, all of those things that go forward. In this whole process, it takes a long time. It takes a large investment of our time, a lot of investment in the developer's time and money. So I would challenge the council to give these folks an idea of what you want to do. Not that you're going to approve or not approve anything. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking, do you want to go to the next steps? And gentlemen, if you'd come up and you tell us what you want or ask the questions that you want, I think you've gotten a lot of feedback from us. You've definitely invested the time. You brought the two teams in here, so thank you very much to give us more content. What do you want?
Yeah, I'll just, in conclusion, I'll kind of just put a bow on this, and then Scott can make the request. But to play off of Alderman, Spiegelberg's comments, I think there's a real opportunity here. And to speak on behalf of Pabst Farms and to be at the tail end of it and to have a real opportunity to master plan it in a single vision and not have it piecemealed is something that I think we're just at the right time to do. I think you've heard from Mid-America saying that the retail is right-sized. I think you've heard from Rinka that to get the retail that we want, there has to be a complement with housing. So we're at the point of question to, is there consideration amongst council? And I will say this, I have been very appreciative of the collaborative process through this and getting your feedback. And as we've marinated over this for the last 2 weeks, I truly actually feel this is the better option. And that's where I appreciate the collaborative process of elected officials and staff members to kind of really speak on behalf of the constituents of a project that is achievable. So we're not here trying to just get something approved. And to that end, I will say, if you do consider moving this from business park to a PD overlay, that gives you further control to give further restrictions on this of ultimately what you want to see, and then there will be a developer agreement that will be within that to further tighten the controls on this. So we're not trying to say this is a take it or leave it. This is a collaborative process that, I would want the city and the village, hand in hand with us to make sure that we get a project that, we all can be proud of and really put a capstone onto Pabst Farms of the 25-year arc that it's been on to really see this through. So thank you for your consideration.
Go
Just,
ahead before.
So I think everybody agrees. In the last 2 weeks, this is a better design, and we talked a little bit last night. So better design with the single-family homes. We can talk about what the size of those is. The condos, for lack of a whatever, I'm gonna call them condos. It's better. I absolutely want to hear from my constituents on Thursday. I'm hearing from people now, but hopefully that's a bigger audience. Because at the end of the day, I've got my opinion, but that weighs more, right? What's the community going to say, especially in my district, which this is. And I told you guys last night, my heartburn is with voting on changing the ratio, right? I ran on all the apartment development in this city and how much I didn't like it. I ran on that. So you can imagine the position I'm in. Maybe I heard it. I'd love to know is it a no-go or a possibility that more of these are condos? Owner, somebody can buy a unit, even if it's the size of an apartment. I get it, right? The whole affordability, it's a big buzzword. Homes are up. They're probably going to be back down again. So I'm not buying all into that. I want to hear from the constituents. Ideally, I'd love to see more of these condos. It's a lot of apartments. I have a real heartburn with that. It is. So I'm not saying hard no today, but I'd like to see it even tweaked a little bit more. That's my final thoughts on
I
it.
have a quick question for Jason Gallo, if you can just kind of hold for a second, Scott. Jason, would you please come up? Alderman Ellis?
Yes, I have a question. First off, I want to thank you guys for communicating with me and coming to Parker's Place and twice, as a matter of fact. Third time, you got to bring your own gear. I'm just telling you, okay? Jason, my question to you is this. My concern also is the ratio of apartments as to condos, as to single-family homes. If we were to, say, have those rental units as leases with the option to buy after a year or something along those lines, which is something that's probably important, what happens if those are condos with the understanding that an individual can come, it's now a little bit more affordable in a sense, and at the end of that time period, they have the opportunity to purchase that unit, whatever it is. What happens to our ratios then?
The ratio that the council adopted doesn't look at rental or ownership occupied. It's all, is it single family or is it multifamily? So even if it's condo, at this point, it's treated as multifamily.
No change.
So there's no change. They could make all of this condominium, and all of this would still be in the multifamily, except for these units out here. These would be the single family.
And those are single family and also brownstones, the side-by-sides, right? Okay.
I've been hearing a lot of discussion about condominium ownership, and I've heard, there's units that are $1.3 million that are listed as under the multifamily. If you want to have another discussion about ratios and maybe we pull the condominiums out, because those people are engaged in the community. They're here, they've lived here a long time.
Correct.
There's a difference, we can do that. The ratio would definitely, if we switched the condominiums from multifamily into single family, the ratio goes up over 70%.
Because technically, those are single families that are owning those
But when you drive by a
condominiums.
unit, you don't know if it's single family or multifamily.
I understand. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So I was a strong proponent for changing it to the way it is now, because I don't think our constituents they think of an apartment building, whether it's owner occupied or lease or, renter occupied. What the reaction I think is in the community is they like single family homes, standalone homes. That I agree completely that homeowners probably have a greater stake in the community. But when people are calling us, condo Milwaukee, even though only 5% of our is condos, it's because they see apartments everywhere.
Who we got that name just from downtown? That was
Yeah.
well before Pabst Farms, well before Olympia.
I get that, but that, just to be the other side of that, that's why I feel like the ratio is proper, because it's what the perception is of our stock of housing, not what it technically is by ownership, so.
Thank you,
Different
Jason.
opinion.
Nope, very
Thank you.
fair. Chaz?
Yeah, a lot of good comments made tonight. I think I generally agree with the group on the comments that have been made. You know, I agree with Mulder on the ratio aspect, keeping the rentals and the condos together in the same. I have less heartburn about making an adjustment to the ratio, though. I think we did that to give ourselves the check. Every time a multifamily development came in, it gave us that additional scrutiny that we could apply to it. I think we're talking about a 60% that we're at right now. This would drop us down to 58%, maybe according to your calculations. I don't think that fundamentally changes the character of Oconomowoc. And so I'm willing to take a look at that. I think some of the questions around TIF are going to be consequential and relevant to the conversation, so there's more to do, but I'm willing to keep moving forward
Okay.
where we're at.
Scott, we kind of interrupted your,
Sure, no, that's okay. It was
my
more important
request
what you guys
of
had to say, what I have to
what do
say.
you need from this council to
Well,
help you guys make your decision?
Sure, and thank you again. I want to echo what Brian said. You guys were incredibly gracious with your time. Everybody met with us and had constructive input, so we appreciate it. Again, we hope we've come a long way with what we've done. We to go to more single-family lots here just doesn't work in this kind of context. I mean, it really doesn't, and it makes sense how it's set up with separate access. And you heard, even where we are versus kind of the peer projects today, we're still well below the ratio, what you're kind of seeing. And again, not suggesting this is, Southridge or Mayfair, but you see them building, hundreds and hundreds of units to keep that balance. So we're really at a point where it's sort of go, no go, and I don't mean that in the wrong way. I think, this is I hope you can view this as different than a farm field where perhaps there's a decision about a 200-unit apartment project, but this is kind of part and parcel of what is really proposed as a mixed-use development. It just kind of works together, and I hope you've heard that tonight. But yeah, what we'd be looking for is just some indication of, should we continue? I mean, ultimately, we'll come back. It's going to cost a lot of money. You won't see these types of site plans. You'll see some 3Ds and some flyovers and some architecture. There's conversation about TIF and all that. We understand that's all to come yet. But if there's not a willingness, because I think Alderman Mulder points it out correctly, we despite what we showed in those ratios, we wouldn't feel comfortable if you said, let's rely on that. We'd have to feel that there's an ability to build what we want to build without being encumbered in that regard. So if the indication is to continue going forward, we'd want some acknowledgement at least that it may require some modification to that ratio in some fashion that may be an exception to this project. But we'd hope to do that. We'd like to do that. We'd like to be part of the community and continue the effort.
So
in
there are a
favor?
couple different ways we can do this, and I'm going to try something a little different. What I'm going to do is ask each council member, we'll go from one end to the other end, and you can share your viewpoint. If you don't want to say a bloody thing, just say I abstain. But I think these guys have put 100% effort in, and you guys have as well. If you can give them an indication of your general feeling, because they're in a no-go situation. Again, not as a pressure, but they have to make a decision on what to do. If you can give them your insights or your thoughts, or abstain from any comment at all, that's your choice. That will give them the information, you guys can decide. Is that a fair approach? Ready, Rusty?
Sure.
I think we all know the situation, so.
No, I really appreciate the change you made. I think this is a huge step in the right direction. I think many points. This is a good project for the area. The two things I need to move forward is first, if we can as a council have a conversation about this ratio. I mean, that's gonna be my biggest hang up, is how we structure, whether we restructure it all together, change it. How do we do that makes sense to keep Oconomowoc and provide room for the future? The second thing I think I'm gonna need is just, that's actually the big one right there, is in how does this work financially? That's where I'm at. Really, it's just gonna be the ratio, actually.
Thanks, Chaz. Anything else you wanted to add?
I'll say that.
I think you made your comment.
Yep.
Alderman Mulder.
Yeah, as I said before, I think it's an appropriate development for this area. I'm open to changing the ratio. That isn't a, in stone for me, no-go. I think it's, again, like Rusty, I think it's worth continuing to have the conversation. I think this brings the type of retail that I hear people want all the time. And of course, with that comes the cost of more apartment development. I don't see a way to develop things like this anywhere without the kind of development you put out here. Either we want this or we don't want this. We're not going to get some other development that's going to be all single-family homes without the retail we want. So, I mean, I think this is the future, and we vote accordingly. So I support moving forward to the next step.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
I think I've shared my comments already, but I am in support of moving this forward as well.
Alderman Ellis.
I was a hard no,
2 weeks ago, yeah.
tremendously and a hard no.
How we worked out at your facility.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Now you're even worse. But
I saw the way you work out. I'm definitely a hard no now. I'm still having a bit of a concern with the ratio. We stated the ratio at what it is now for a purpose, and I don't want developers or builders to come in to think, it's fine, we can get this done. I want to thank you for your flexibility, absolutely flexibility. I'm curious and interested to see what you can make of our suggestions and bringing that forward.
Alderman Rozak.
yeah, just real quick. Out of all the 7 projects shown in the area as examples, this was the largest residential piece. The biggest one, other than this one, was 550 residential multifamily. So this is the largest one out of the 7 shown in our community. So I think that makes us, and should create some pause for us. To be clear, there's an opportunity here because some people actually asked tough questions. Did not rubber stamp what was here 2 weeks ago. The mayor asked a lot of tough questions. That 2 weeks ago was the first time, 5 minutes before the meeting, we saw that plan. And we needed to ask tough questions. And I think we only have an opportunity here with the new plan because of those tough questions and some of those tough pressing of the developer. The original plan presented 2 weeks ago was DOA, as far as I could tell, on this council, without those changes, pressed by me and others on council. So as it sits right now, I definitely think we should move forward. I'd like to see updated plans. I'd love to see more single family, if there's a way to get more in there creatively. If you could add units and give us what Matt showed us before on some of the residential units look really nice. If we could get an idea what those would look like, kind of in maybe a real life photo versus the fake photos, would be great. But I'm for looking at future options here.
I ask on that point, is twin home something that would?
I think maybe see 2 options, what a single family home would look like, and Matt showed on one of his slides the twin homes. Right. And we have twin home developments, I think in Arrowwood and some other areas in the city. So maybe there could be a mix of the true single family residential and a few twin homes, creating some more affordability there and creating more owner occupied within that space. So I appreciate the efforts you guys put in and being responsive to the council and the mayor.
Thank you.
Eric.
Yeah, as I said, I'm really looking forward to hearing what my constituents, what we hear on Thursday. I think that's, I've got my opinion, but I'd love to hear, if high-density units and getting a Trader Joe's or something like that is what people want, I'm good with it. I agree, I've heard it a couple times. I get further away from a hard no if there's more ownership and less apartments in this development. How about that?
Great. Well, Council, thank you very much. I don't get to vote, but I'm going to share my opinion. Great improvement from the last one. It was DOA the first time it came, and I think a lot of that was based on terminology and misunderstanding. I like what you've done on the northern side of that. I would like to see that actually be smaller homes that are more affordable, so I would increase the volume, decrease the lot size. And that also makes a nice transition. There's a nice buffer on that northern area for the folks that live up there. And then if you can make that transition, we can add more single-family homes in there. To what flavor, into side-by-side or twin or what have you. Create something that looks nice, Matt, that what you made the comment that you're trying to build a community in a neighborhood. And I'll share a little story with you. I absolutely despise the Chicago Bears. I hate Chicago.
You're in good company.
Both of my daughters live in Chicago. And both of my daughters lived in little neighborhoods in Chicago. And I grew to really enjoy Chicago. The Bears still suck. But I really like Chicago. But it's that aspect of community and neighborhood, Matt, that you just said. That part of this is really, really important, or else it's just a bunch of more homes across from nice retail. My concern is if we don't have some level of density there, we won't get the retail that we want next to the interstate. But again, it's just an option, and it's something for the council. So my recommendation is keep moving forward. I think you're getting overall general positive, but I have to say you have a lot of work ahead to get this council to vote for it. And I just challenge you on that process, and let us know if there's anything we can do for you. And thank you, everybody, for a great discussion, and all those of you that came this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good
I'd
night.
like to entertain a motion to adjourn the Committee of the Whole.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to take a 5-minute break and then start the common council meeting. We got to let everybody here, the council members, take a little break. Sorry for the delay, and sorry that we're starting the council meeting a few minutes late.
Yeah, I see that. Thank you.
Good to go? All right, I'd like to call to order the City of Oconomowoc Common Council meeting for Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. Has appropriate meeting notification been made?
It has, Your Honor.
Would we all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and our new Finance Department Chair, Steve Hatton. Steve, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, Steve. Call roll, please.
Alderman Youngworth.
Here.
Alderman Rosick.
Present.
Alderman Altman Cloth is absent. Alderman Ellis.
Here.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Here.
Alderman Mulder.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Here.
And Alderman McConnell.
Thank you, everybody. We have two public hearings tonight. We're going to start with the first one. The first public hearing is on the Water Supply Service Area Plan. The purpose is to hear public comment on the Water Supply Service Area Plan prepared by the City of Oconomowoc Utilities. This is a new regulatory requirement under the Wisconsin Administrative Code NR 854. The plan uses information on population and water demand forecasting from previously approved facility studies and planning documents, along with the annual report submitted to the Public Service Commission to prepare a broad overlook view of the community's water system and service area. The plan evaluates if the existing well sources of the municipality are adequate for the projected growth over the planning period time frame. Ready?
Perfect.
Let's do it.
You summarized it absolutely perfect. We have to create a plan, keep it updated to make sure that we can supply water. The DNR is looking also, the big question is, will we need a new high-capacity well, or will we ever ask for a Great Lakes diversion? As you know, with our new well 8 that'll be online here in the next month, we have adequate supply past our current planning period, which is 2040. About it. We're asking see if there's any public comment. We'll include that in the final version, and it'll be updated every 5 years.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comments regarding this public hearing with regard to water supply in the City of Oconomowoc? Seeing no public comments, we're going to close this public hearing and move on to our next. Thank you very much. If you have a chance, the city's invested a significant amount, over $12 million, into a new well that goes online before the end of the year. It's really quite impressive. I got a tour of it last week, and hats off to the folks at our utilities. Great job. On to our next item. Our next public hearing is the Oconomowoc Historical Museum rezoning. The purpose is to hear public comment to rezone the Oconomowoc Historical Museum located at 103 West Jefferson Street. The 0.5-acre parcel is further identified by the tax key OCOC 0590.331. The request is to rezone the property from TR, Traditional Residential District, to IP, which is Institutional Public Zoning District. Per the table of allowable uses in section 17.106 of the City of Zoning Ordinance, the existing museum was not allowed to go into the TR district, and the use was listed as a permitted use in the IP district. Mr. Gallo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Common Council. We have a rezoning request. This is more of a housekeeping item. I am the applicant as the zoning administrator for the city. It's for the Oconomowoc Historical Museum that's been there over 100 years on Jefferson Street. Here's the location map. You can see it's on the corner of Jefferson and Main, right next to Roosevelt Park. It's been there a very long time. So currently the zoning is the beige area that's circled in red there. That's the TR, Traditional Residential. They're going through a capital fundraising campaign, and Bob Duffy brought this to my attention, who sits on the museum board, and he said, why is the museum zoned residential when that museum use isn't allowed in the TR zoning district. I said, I'm not sure, I'll look into it. What happened was we did a massive zoning-wide change back in 2010. And this is what the map looked like in 2009. I pulled out an old historic zoning map, and you can see there's not much blue on here. This is the museum property. It looks like a single-family home. We went through and we rezoned a lot of stuff to the blue district, that's IP, institutional public, and then we changed some of the uses that allowed, we maybe have removed museum from residential and put it into the institutional public district. Basically, we missed it. It looked like a residential site. I asked Stan Riffle, our city attorney, if we could just do this more as a resolution because it was an error made in 2010. He said, no, that was a long time ago. Let's take it through the full process. So this is just bringing the museum into the blue district. I did look at we have a comprehensive plan, and it goes out to the year 2050. Every decision you make has to be consistent with our comprehensive plan, and it does identify it as government, institutional, or public. So we caught it then when we did the comp plan, or at least an update on the comp plan. So that's fine, that doesn't need to be amended. This is just changing the zoning map. So this is the ordinance that's in your packet. It would just, I know it's not the same color. I highlighted a different color on purpose so you could see what's being changed. On the Exhibit A, I have the legal description that I created there. This is a half-acre parcel. It's changing it to TR to IP. Did go to the Plan Commission. They did recommend approval of this zoning change.
Thank you. The public hearing is open for the rezoning of the Oconomowoc Historical Museum. Do we have any public comments at this time? Seeing no public comments, the public hearing for this is now closed. We'll move on to the other items in the agenda. I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes for December 2nd, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Without objection, Council, I'd like to bring forward items 10A and B, two presentations for the community. One is a presentation of the Innovation Library, and one is a presentation of the Oconomowoc Senior Center. Do I have any objections? Seeing no objections, if we could start with our first presentation, the Innovation Library. And Council, I wanted to make sure that you are more up to speed on some of the things that are going on. And this is an effort to show you some of the things that are in the works that aren't completely baked and completely done, but people have been working on for several months. So thank you. Presenting tonight will be Matt Mulder, Matt Rozak, Jen Puccini, who's the director at the Oconomowoc Public Library, was not able to make it this evening, but I spent some time talking with her this afternoon. Alderman Mulder.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a concept that we've been kicking around, I guess, for about the last 2 years. The idea is to expand our library service towards the I-94 corridor in an innovative way. An innovation branch library is kind of a working name, but we're using that because this is something that, to be honest, is not something that's commonly done here in the Midwest, but it is something that's commonly done in other parts of the U.S. and also in Europe. So the objective is to provide convenient access to library services and materials to residents on the south side of the city. And this would be really drive additional library usage, which was of course important, but also to reduce outflow of circulation primarily to Delafield, which sees quite a bit of our traffic from that part of the town going to those libraries. And really we wanted to make sure we're not looking to add a full branch that's going to cost a lot of money. The criteria for this was we were looking for no increase in staffing, limited impact to budget, and really no long-term commitment of funds or upfront capital investment.
Sure, I can do this one. Boy, this is harder being up here than I thought it would be, guys. Jeez, everyone's staring at me. So one of the reasons we really
If you could speak into the microphone,
yeah.
please. I just wanted to say that.
Got me. One of the reasons Matt and I started looking at this a while back was all the development, obviously near 94. We heard a lot about that today. We think a satellite library could work out there to allow people, instead of going to Delafield, but also attracting people from Summit, Dousman, other parts of Jefferson to our library to get that circulation. The circulation is a big deal because that's where we get our funding from bridges in the county. And if we can create more non-resident circulation, true non-resident circulation, we get more money to our library. So we don't want people going away. This we think will help. We've met with the library board several times. Matt obviously is a little bit more involved because he's our alderman, attaché to the library board, and the mayor with Wingspan. And we've secured some very favorable lease deals. I got to credit the mayor for that. He really got a good potential lease deal on this thing, which really is going to help this project move forward. So that's the basic history. It's been kind of, and I think the biggest thing is that there's nobody doing this in Wisconsin right now. We would be the first community in the state doing this. So this is huge. This is huge for our community and huge to see if it works for other areas.
So while that sounds scary, I was talking to the director of the Blight Public Library just before this and was asking him, did he think we were crazy for trying this? And he said it would never work in Beloit. He says, but he thinks this is the perfect spot for it because of the traffic, the easy on access, and just with the population growth in that area. So that gave me a lot of confidence on this. But what it is, it's going to be an unstaffed branch, meaning the only way you access this is by using your library card to get in it. It would be only for people 16 years and over, so there wouldn't be younger people in there. The security would be done through the camera system like we use in the park, so it would be secured through cameras. And hours will be roughly 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., so able to expand our library hours in that way as well. It's not a full-service library. It's not even really a branch library. If you think about a branch library, you have your central in Milwaukee, and then you have 9 or 10 branches throughout the city. This is really a convenient place to use a limited amount of services. So holds pickup, that's a big part of our circulation. People could select to have their book that they want picked up downtown or here at the branch. So community members living out there would be easy access to those materials. A very small circulating kind of popular collection of adult fiction and nonfiction and children's. We'd have internet stations, Wi-Fi access, the potential for some on-site children's programming, and then an external book return. So really just a small space, 800 square feet, something like that, for community access, just expanding it throughout the day. So as I said, 800 to 1,000 square feet. Matt referenced the lease. Looking at Wingspan will be providing us $1 per year for up to 10 years.
Sorry, I think we missed the E there.
Right, we did. And it's going to be connected to a cafe. Matt's going to talk about that in a little bit, but I won't get into too much details about that. But it's going to have shared bathrooms with the cafe, which we think is huge because we were wondering how we're going to provide those services there. We know bathrooms are one of the most important things to all of our constituents, and without bathrooms, we wouldn't move forward. The estimated startup cost, $150,000. There is some ongoing operational costs, but we think it can come out of the existing budget. And then this could be operational as part of the first part of the mixed-use development. So it'd be late this year, early 2027. So as you know, I work for a library company. I've worked in libraries my whole life. This is a design that one of our interior designers put together for what the space might look like. You can see there'd be a small children's area where parents could come and read with their child, pick out materials. A small teen area that would just be some soft seating where they could hang out and read. Individual work area in the bottom left, there might be some internet access computers there. And then main circulation is just where the holds pick up as well as circulating collection would be for adults. If you look here at the bottom, this is what we're envisioning the door would go between the cafe and the library. And that door would, again, you'd only access using your library card, so it wouldn't be open to the general public. And then here's a little bit of what a 3D overall viewpoint looks like. So 800 square feet is probably right for that. We can get a lot in there. you know, but still have good security, good sight lines throughout it, you know, because of obviously security is an issue here, and we want to make sure it's a safe environment for our library patrons.
One of the other things, I'll jump in real quick, that we've been talking a lot about is, as we're designing this and putting it together to make sure whatever furniture we go in there, if this doesn't work out, it's just not circulating, nobody's using it, that we can reuse that furniture and that it's completely revenue neutral, right? We're gonna try to do this with donations, obviously with the free lease, and hopefully work with the cafe and the bathrooms so that if it doesn't work out, we're not out anything. We haven't invested $100 grand or $200 grand. It's something we can see if it works. If it's working and the people are using it, great. Especially with all the development out there, we think this could actually be very successful. But if it doesn't, we have another plan, which is a very low lease, obviously, and then use that furniture in our library or library expansion that we're looking towards in the future. So that was one of my, so the second part, Matt started talking about the cafe. So I think 4 weeks ago, the mayor, myself, and Matt met with Sheila and Monique. Sheila's connected with Journey 21. The two of them have an idea to put a cafe. We think all along it would be awesome to have a library in this new commercial development with a cafe, a restaurant or something that would help foot traffic, or that the library could help foot traffic for them. And they came in with this idea. It's gonna be similar to Inclusion Coffee, providing employment for folks at Journey 21 and other folks with developmental disabilities. And again, Matt said access to the library through the card access door. They'll help us provide kind of unified bathrooms on behind so that we're not taking care of the bathrooms and doing all that work. So I think overall this could be a huge win-win with the cafe. People like getting books and getting a coffee or a donut and then back and forth, especially with the children's area. You know, it's a great spot for parents to go with young kids, pick up books, and hopefully really the idea is to increase that true non-resident circulation, keep people also here in the city, you know, renting books. So anything else you think you want to add? I added a slide. Ready? You ready?
I think there's a picture.
Oh, there's the picture. That was the other one I added. There's the benefits. I mean, we've already kind of touched on the benefits, is that additional true non-resident circulation and providing access to folks, you know, on the other side of town. Our library is deep into downtown here. Having something out on the other side of town where all the development is going, that's easy access to 94, to Delafield, Summit, Dousman, Ottawa. I mean, you think about the concentration. Think about just Western Lakes Fire District. Western Lakes Fire District serves about 54,000 people. Right now, we're servicing a smaller group here in the city. We could do bigger and more numbers with this library. So this was the last one I did. So, you know, we're open to questions, or if you guys think of anything, you know, in the future, just email us and the mayor, and, you know, we'll keep working on it.
I think it's great. I just, it's something I want to make sure the council's aware of. Please reach out to these two gentlemen, myself, Mark, if you have any questions. The library board is on board. They're favorable moving forward with this type of project. I would like to give a quick shout out. We don't know for sure if this is going to happen, but I'd like a shout out to Nick Papanikolaou and the Nicholas family that are the owners of the Nicholas Associates as well as Wingspan for being so incredibly generous to create a space that basically we could think about doing something this innovative. And as Matt had said, if this doesn't work and the model doesn't work because it hasn't been done, we really aren't out a ton because all the assets that we buy can still be used in our current library. And this action doesn't mean that the library expansion that needs to happen in the years ahead doesn't happen. This is just an adjunct to help during a special timing where we have some great generosity from the Nicholas family.
Two other things I'll say quickly to that point, Mayor. One, also thank Matt and Demco, his company. I think you guys have done all that stuff for free so far, so thanks a lot to that.
Yeah.
They're
good.
great.
Thanks.
Their 3D plans and renderings are awesome. And should we move forward with the library expansion in the future, having a satellite library like this will help with that transition. It'd be another spot for people to pick up books if they can't make it there, or it's under construction, or a whole section is closed down. So there's a lot of other benefits here, you know, looking, you know, deep into the future.
Super. Thank you very much, guys. We're going to move on to the next presentation. I'm not going to open up to a ton of questions, guys, because we're running a little bit behind. So our next presentation is on the Oconomowoc Area Senior Center. Some questions were brought up a couple weeks ago. That's what kind of spurred me to say, hey, let's put these 2 items on. You didn't have a whole lot of feedback on and knew about the library. Now let's learn a little bit more about the Oconomowoc Area Senior Center, as we do know that they have a strong request at some point in time to grow and try to seek a different facility. So if you'd please come to the podium, Ginny, and introduce yourself, and there you go.
Hi,
Hi.
everybody. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, council members, for allowing us, and I say us because a lot of the people back there are from the Senior Center, to just come and present to you who the Senior Center is, what we do, how we operate, our growth, and perhaps our future. So my name is Ginny Hicks. I'm the president of the Oconomowoc Area Senior Center, and here we go. Oconomowoc Area Senior Center. We probably can, in one sentence, kind of, sort of, bring it down to every single day, seniors in our communities walk through our front door. And what are they looking for? They're looking for connection, they're looking for a purpose, and they're looking for a place that they can belong. There has been a lot of talk tonight about connectivity and connection, and that's what we are. We're that connection. And so, what am I supposed to do? Scroll?
Yeah, just scroll the wheel.
Scroll, tap. How about this? Who is the OASC? First of all, we're an independent 501c3. We serve adults 50 and above, that's where our focus lies, across all socioeconomic levels. We have a $25 annual membership, which we keep low without any other fees, unless there's a facilitator or there is food or there is supplies, something that we have to collect the money for. We try to keep it very, very low. And basically, we're a safe, fun, vibrant, and welcoming community to seniors all throughout the community. We do rely on the generosity of donations, contributions, fundraising, any way we can make some money and bring it in, because we keep our dues low. The operations, how do we operate? We're member-driven. So we have a lot of members, and we are driven by what they want. They tell us what to do, they ask the questions, they suggest the activities, and then we move ahead. We're a 15-member working board. It's a working board, it's not a consulting board. That simply means that we actually are doing something every day as a board. We have 165 plus dedicated, passionate volunteers, some of whom are here with their passion on their face, as you can see. And we have 2 paid part-time staff, one of whom is here. Thank you, Kathy. The 2 of them total a 40-hour week. And that's the only paid personnel. So what's our mission? Our mission is really fourfold. We are the senior center who focuses on educational, wellness, recreational, and social activities. You'll see some of them up there. I'm not going to go through the list of the 150 programs we have every single month. But there's our Spanish club. Believe it or not, that's a Spanish club. They're dancing, they're learning international dance. They are a Spanish conversation class. There at the recreation is our ping pong people. We also have a beginning ping pong group. If you forgot how to play, or if you still play, or if you would like to learn how to play, you could come join. It's really fun. And social, everything we do is social, including travel, which is depicted there. So we say, why the senior center? What makes us important? Is it just to go have fun? No. The challenges that seniors face, it has been well documented. You've read the reports, you've heard the reports, you know all the things that happen to us. The isolation that occurs. So we take care of kids, our kids grow up, they get full-time jobs, they go out and get those jobs, they have a life, they leave, they go to college, and they go off, they move. Our grandkids get involved. There's You know, they're busy. They don't have time for the grandma and the grandpa. We have people dying more frequently because we're aging, because our spouses die, because our friends die, because our family dies. Consequently, we become isolated. We don't know where to go. We stay home. We're depressed. We're lonely. And it's this downward spiral that leads oftentimes, and a new statistic I just read the other day, men especially, 65 and older, have a very large percentage of suicide. And it's that spiral effect, downward effect. It shocked me. Oh, this thing. Click it again, and again, and again. And there we go. So we've discovered a lot during COVID, right? But we also discovered something during the ADRC and Waukesha funding cuts. And I just want to thank you for that, because you approved in the budget to help fund some of it at the senior center. This picture, if you look at it up there, you see the number of people sitting around that table. We left the community dining site at the rec department. Well, I call it the rec department. I've been here too long. What is it now? Community center. And there were like 2 or 3 average people going. In reality, that's who went. We brought it over to the senior center. The senior center is the host site for it. And it's totally, strictly through donation now. Thank you very much to those of you that did. And there it is, 20 people. Tomorrow, we have 21 people, seniors, signed up for lunch tomorrow. So, yeah, that's what happens when they're in the right place and they're needed, they're connected. That's what it's all about. Okay, thank you. With the senior center, what our job is to stop the spiral from going down. We know that when you belong to something, when you feel you're a part of something, you can combat that depression. Again, it's in all the reports. We retire, we don't have a purpose, we can't use our skills. Who's going to want to see us? We come, we take on leadership roles, we get on the committees, we do things, we restore our sense of purpose. Our friendships, the friendships we have, I didn't know any of these people before I got involved with the senior center. And here they all are. Look at them. They're friends to each other. They're friends to me, and they're friends to the city. They're the ones that come into your community. The friendship combats loneliness, and community, which is what we have, that just takes us out of isolation. We get out, we find all the things that are important. Proven, staying socially connected and watching out for each other extends independence, improves quality of life, and saves lives. I'm going to tell you 3 stories. Happened today. A woman calls. She wants to come. Hey, can I come over? Can I come to the center? Of course you can, but I don't have a ride. Well, then somebody in this audience who was there says, I'll pick her up. 2 minutes later, a woman who was watching over her calls on the telephone, and I talk with her. She does not have dementia. She is capable of moving, but she is not able to get out, and she's afraid. So, of course, we'll bring her over. She can have coffee. She can see activities. She can feel good, and then she can go back home. And that's what she did. And she had a smile on her face. That happens every day. This stuff is real. We live this every day at the Oconomowoc Area Senior Center. So because we're doing our job, we have had a little bit of unprecedented growth, which is, of course, wonderful. As of today, we have 1,000, not 20, 21 members. Right, Kathy? Right. And of those 1,021 members, 64% are active. Now, that means they actually take part. What happens with the other 36%? They write the check, they join, simply because they know what is happening over there is a good thing. And so they believe in it. So here you go. You have our support. We have 16,000 member visits annually walking through that front door. We have 150 programs per month being offered, opportunities. There's our calendar, and it's a quiet one because of those holidays coming up. The 165 volunteers that are passionate, that help carry everything through, and we are open 7 days a week. Here's just a little bit of a graph. Since 2022, we had 429 members. Today, we have 1,020. In 2006, when the city was working towards finding a place for the Oconomowoc Area Senior Center to house, the membership was 139. Wow. They put us, you, the city, found us a place. It's over at Berkshire. And it was not built for the membership that we now have. Having said that, we felt, for various reasons, to get into strategic planning, which you're very well aware of. And so we set up an ad hoc committee for that. One of the members that is on our ad hoc committee, Karen, you coming up, is Karen Spiegelberg, and she is on the subcommittee for facilities. It's a 20-member strategic plan committee at the center, and there's 4 key areas, one being facilities. What are we going to do as we grow? Karen, could you speak?
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Ginny. I've been a member of the Senior Center for 5 years, since my mom moved to Oconomowoc. She's 94 years old, and she and I are both members there. So it's kind of a fun intergenerational membership for my mom and I. I was privileged that Ginny asked me to be a part of the Strategic Planning Committee, specifically on the Facilities Subcommittee. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The current facility, there are public safety and accessibility concerns. Even though we have, I just learned this yesterday, even though we have this ramp, this handicap ramp, I learned yesterday, if individuals have hip or knee replacements, they are advised by their doctor not to even walk up these ramps. So individuals that are members of the center who have had surgeries are out of the facility, out of the senior center for weeks while they rehab. Obviously, you know, a different center that would have just a straight walk-in type of situation would be better for them. We have other public safety issues with sidewalks in the area, getting across streets to the parking lot. There are extreme challenges with the 100-year-old building. The basement has flooded before. There's a small municipal parking lot. If there are other events going on in that area, there are members that are parking way over behind Maxim's in the south parking lot or way down city streets and then trying to get in for events and for their classes and things going on. There's a need for an expanded kitchen. You guys need to come and tour the place and you will see why. It's just this little tiny little galley kitchen. There's 1 bathroom. And how many members did she say we have now? 1,021, 65% are active and are there. 1 bathroom. 1,200 square feet of dedicated activity space, okay? So there's an office. This is 1,200 square feet of actual activity space dedicated. There's another 2,400 on the second floor, but that's shared by the owner. So if the owner has something that's going on in there, and that would be Berkshire Apartments, then the seniors don't have access to that space. That's the space right now that we're doing our Wednesday senior dinners. But 1,200 square feet of dedicated active space for over 600 active members is, you can do the math, it's not a lot. We are out of space. Because of the limited space, the activities are growth restricted. So as a strategic planning committee, we're exploring future needs and operational changes. We first started looking at the existing facility thinking, you know, are there things we can do there? And we very quickly decided we don't want to put any more money into that facility because it's all for naught. We need to meet the needs of today and tomorrow's seniors. We may be today's seniors, but some of you are tomorrow's seniors, and we'd like to meet those needs for you as well. We don't have a fixed plan yet, but we are working at it. Again, I'm privileged to be on the Strategic Planning Committee for this with a lot of very amazing individuals that we are working with. Individuals that have, you know, professional backgrounds. They're retired now, but they have professional backgrounds in, you know, teaching, engineering, accounting, finance, banking, a lot of really solid people on these committees, and I'm privileged to be a part of that. I think Ginny has already said the OASC has a proven track record in a rapidly growing senior community. And keep in mind, this is the Oconomowoc Area Senior Center. It's not just the Oconomowoc Senior Center. We have so many individuals that come from all over. They come as far as Watertown. So Mark, when you join our senior center, you can drive over from Watertown as well.
I can bring people with me.
I'll turn it back over to Ginny. Thanks for listening.
So that kind of takes us to, and I just want to go back to one thing of course, I'm sorry, back to one thing as in regards to the facility. Because we did have one more room. We had room 4. Our rooms are really creative, room 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that room was used as a third activity room, which would have added the 640 additional square footage to it. We used it a lot. We used it every day, like we use every room every day. And because it was a common area, Berkshire, who was the property manager, decided that they had to build a fitness center, a fitness room, because of course, marketing and competition and other senior places, housing, all have a fitness room. And so they turned that room into a fitness room, which is used by the senior center for when I can sneak in to hold a meeting there, because we're not supposed to use it. Did I say that? Sorry, don't put me in jail. Oh! But the bottom line there is that when the common rooms, as our big room upstairs is needed, it is utilized by the owners, rightfully so. And so it's just another little thing we have to think about. So the benefits to Oconomowoc, what do seniors provide Oconomowoc? Strong seniors, strong Oconomowoc. Seniors, the population, the growth of it, all the people that are here are feeding into the community daily. We develop leadership skills through volunteerism. We foster civic involvement by keeping all of our members aware, by writing, our newsletters that Nancy's going to pass out to you because you're going to go home with this beautiful yellow sheet in front of you. Only it's not a sheet, it's 20 pages. Okay, civic involvement. We promote the local businesses, the restaurants, the events. You will find Oconomowoc Area Senior Centers in all of your places here every day. I bet I could walk into every one of them, maybe not all the bars, but some of the bars. We bring people into the committee and we promote tourism. We have, for instance, in January, we host the art program. We bring 1,000 people into that community to have their taxes done for free. And where do they go? They might go to Maxim's for lunch. Where can we get a cup of coffee? Oh, go to Roots. We send them out into the community all the time. And this whole thing, helping seniors stay independent, we stay independent longer, and that kind of reduces the strain on social and public services. They're stronger, we're independent, we're stronger, we're more fit because we have classes, we're connected, we can walk a little bit easier, we don't make as many falls, and we certainly use we don't have as much use of the public services as we could have. So, that's the nutshell. That's who we are. This is who we are. Look at their smiles, because how do they feel about the senior center? Ask them. Constituents, there they are. And so the question is there an opportunity for us to work together? Is there an opportunity for the Oconomowoc Area Senior Center and the city to explore possibilities, to explore an expansion of our facility in some format? I really do wish that each one of you would give me a call, come on over, have a cup of coffee and a conversation, and see what we're really about. Because until you are in the building, you have no clue what the senior center is. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. If you're from the Oconomowoc Senior Center represented here, would you just raise your hand? Because I'm trying to get us. Oh, wow. Okay.
I thought you guys were all here for an innovation library. Come on.
Well, thank you all for coming. All right, great. And thank you, the Innovation Library and the Senior Center for presenting this to council. Let's move back onto our agenda. Does anybody have any comments or suggestions from the citizens that you'd like to share with the council this evening? Seeing no comments or suggestions, we're going to move on to our consent agenda items. I'd like to entertain a motion for the consent agenda items.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Karen?
Because this is consent agenda and we, these are considered in one motion, that's great, but I would like to just make a comment on item 7C, which is appointing our election inspectors. This list is impressive. It's so impressive. Chief inspectors and assistants, our poll workers. There were probably some individuals in the audience tonight that are on this list, but I just want to thank them for everything they do because I think it's a thankless job. So
Great,
thank you again to them for everything they do for our city.
That motion passed. Let's move on to committee reports. We're going to start with finance. Consider act on resolution 25-R331 in support of the TAP grant application.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, just asking for consideration of a resolution authorizing us to apply for the Wisconsin DOT TAP grant. This is for our northeast quadrant corridor to connect, create a safe route over Highway 67. This is for the grant cycle that is for 2026 through 2030. I need this in order to complete our grant application. So this is a grant that would be between 1.5 and 1.5 million to $2 million. It's an 80-20 matching grant. There's no cost to apply for this. So I'm asking you to approve this resolution.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Betcher? Alderman Rozak.
Yeah, Eric, thanks for thinking ahead and applying for it. The only question I had, in the memo, it says that we have final sources of matching funds will be determined upon learning of success. Do we have any idea where we might be getting those funds at this point? I mean, I don't mind going out for the grant, but I'd hate to get, $2 million and wonder where the other 400 grand's coming from.
Yeah, so in our budget, we have $50,000 each year that's put into an account that's been approved for moving forward with this stuff. Other things we could do is look at, the park impact fees, but then also just trying to find additional grant funding as well.
Okay.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
I think this is really important from a safety standpoint. Matt Mulder and I have gotten, a lot of conversation in our district regarding this, so I think this is pretty exciting that we can try to move this forward. So.
Alderman Mulder?
Yeah, I would agree. There's a tremendous amount of congestion there around the intermediate school, and now there's more and more of our students walking to that school from the growing neighborhood. And there was a child hit there probably 3-4 years ago. Not seriously injured, but tragedy avoided. So this is a priority to get some safety there.
That's a good point. Are you allowed to mention as part of the grant of the safety issues and the kid that got hit there?
Yeah, so I did add that in there when I,
Oh, you
so the
did?
grant application was submitted in October, end of October. I submitted it then, and then this is part of that application
Got it.
process for it to move forward.
So you mentioned that there was that accident there. I mean, that was a pretty big deal. That's good. I mean, that's helpful, hopefully, to get that and improve that. Thanks.
Like to entertain a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
Next item, consider act on the contribution for city services agreement with Lutheran Social Services. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In your packet, you'll have a memo outlining the item. As you may be aware, Bethany House is a treatment center on the west side, changed hands this last July, where the former operator was a taxable entity and helped support the cost of local services with their property taxes. The new operator is tax exempt and will no longer be able to contribute to or won't contribute through property taxes, but they are willing to help support for the cost of their services through a voluntary contribution for local services. So the agreement you have before you has been reviewed by them and our council, and it should be prepared and ready for your approval.
Pepper.
I just want to say I recuse myself from the conditional use permit. LSS is a client of the firm I work for, so I'm going to recuse myself from this vote as well.
Thank you. Alderman Spiegelberg.
I think it's worth noting that this is a pilot, this is a voluntary contribution by them, and that it is to cover city services such as fire, police, and other city services that they may need.
Like to entertain a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper. Oh, recusing, sorry. Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
On to protection and welfare. Consider act on resolution 25-R3322, granting new 2025-26 reserve Class B intoxicating liquor fermented malt beverage license to Newport 1875 LLC. Gina?
Sure. So this was discussed at the Protection and Welfare Committee earlier this evening. This is a full liquor license reserve at the former Coco's location. The committee recommended this move forward, and all the paperwork has been submitted and is in order.
Alderman Rozak.
Yeah, I just have one comment from the committee. Mike Bertrand did show up for the committee, had some questions for us. We told him he did not need to come back to the full city council meeting. One of the questions he asked was if there were any other regular licenses available, i.e. not reserve, i.e. not $10,000. We have asked our clerk to double check that and can update Mike, but I think we should approve this still tonight. And again, he answered some questions for us and was present, and we told him he didn't need to come back.
Like to entertain a motion, please?
So moved, Rozak.
Second.
Any further questions, comments? Call roll, please.
Sorry. Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
Next up, consider act on resolution 25-R3330, granting the new 2025-26 Class A fermented malt beverage license to Taqueria Doblado LLC, doing business as Doblado Mexican Grocery.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this was also before Protection and Welfare earlier this evening. This is a Class A beer-only off-premise beer license for package sales only. Mr. Vargas did appear with his family. There you are. If the committee has, or the council has any questions, I know he was not here earlier this evening. But this is for the grocery store across
Any
the street.
questions or comments for Gina or for the applicant? Like to entertain a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any further comments or questions? Call roll, please.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis. Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
We have one Plan Commission item, consider act on ordinance, congratulations, it went through.
Yep, you guys can go.
Consider act on ordinance 25-01113 to amend the city zoning map from TR, Traditional Residential District, to IP, Institutional Public, for the Oconomowoc Historical Museum, located at 103 West Jefferson Street. Council, this is a first reading. You have the option to waive the second reading if you so choose. Mr. Gallo, I think you presented it well. Do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Gallo? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a
So moved,
motion with
and,
waiving the second reading.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? Roll, please.
Alderman Youngworth.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shell Pepper.
Aye.
Alderman McConnell.
Aye.
So we do have one staff report from our Leicester City Administrator, Mr. Mark Fry.
Wow, now I feel special.
The Grinch.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the way the calendar falls, this is our last meeting for the year. Our next meeting isn't until early January, so I wanted to thank the council and the mayor for all the support and I'll say trust that you showed in staff this year. I think we've done really good work together, completed a lot of projects, but I always look back at our budgeting process and how much quickly and how much better that process has been going, and that's where the trust factor, I feel, comes in. I also want to thank all the department heads and their crews. I always say that we're a good city because we're staffed by a lot of really, really good people, and I mean that sincerely. We have great crews here. When you look at, getting the downtown cleaned up, the other night after having to put in a lot of hours the previous weeks with the events that we had, with the Christmas train and the snow events, they, still had to take the time to come in at midnight just to clean the downtown and make it more accessible. So it's things like that that makes this a really, really good community. And I just want to say thanks to everybody for that.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or any comments from Alderman this evening? Alderman Spiegelberg.
I'd just like to wish everyone a very blessed and Merry Christmas. And if you're looking for a good gift to give, I say donate blood. We have a couple that are coming up in the city, December 19th, the YMCA, and December 23rd at Burn Boot Camp. I think we need to get a blood drive organized at Parker's Place. But I am a regular donor, and I think it's one of the best things you can do. And through Versity, once in a while you get an email from them saying, like, I just recently got an email saying your blood is being transferred to Children's Hospital to help someone there. So, I mean, that's just a bonus when you get a personal connection like that. But consider giving blood this Christmas.
Other comments from Alderman this evening?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, yeah.
Merry
Anything else?
Christmas.
Okay, then last comments from the mayor. I just echo what Mark had said, and Merry Christmas, everybody. Just have a wonderful holiday. And thank you for being who you are. I've really enjoyed this year, and we've accomplished a lot. And in about 4 months, we'll be able to upgrade the mayor position, so I'm pleased to see that. Merry Christmas. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.